Previously on agentpalmer.com, do not look elsewhere for a thrilling read by Keanu Reeves. Yes, that one. Picture this, a playlist of Photograph songs, and since last episode, I've been shopping for an acoustic bass thanks to His Majesty, the Reigning Lunatic. This is the Palmer Files, episode 180, featuring Anthony Rapino, who's back for the third time to talk about what he's been up to, including always writing, being the laziest YouTuber, getting more social, and almost burning out. Are you ready? Let's do the show!
I almost burnt out. I did almost burn out. I crave a bit of discussion about stuff. It doesn't have to be my work even. I mean, that's why I like to teach too. Is like, I just like talking about this stuff. In general, I've been getting out more than I ever did before, which isn't saying much because I didn't do it at all. I'm a little bit out to sea when it comes to that stuff, but it is something I want to do. Life gets in the way sometimes.
Hello and welcome to the Palmer Files. I'm your host, Jason Stershik, also known as Agent Palmer, and on this 180th episode is my friend and friend of the show, Anthony Rapino, who is back for the third time. It's been a couple of years since Tony's been on the show, so we discussed what he's been up to, his writing, as well as his other creative endeavors, and how he almost burned out. Plus, being more social, making videos as the laziest YouTuber, and what's coming up for him. We still haven't met in person, and we talk about that too. All of that and much, much more is coming your way shortly. But first, remember that if you want to discuss this episode as you listen or afterward, you can find all related ways to contact Tony and myself in the show notes. Tony's next published work, Precipice of Nowhere, will be released at the end of October. Be sure to pre-order wherever you get your books. Be on the lookout for what else Tony has coming up, either with published works or events, by getting information and social links from Tony's website, anthonyjrapino.com. That's ANTHONYJRAPINO.com. Plus, you can watch Tony's RetroDaze scripts come to life on youtube.com/RetroDaze. That's RetroDaze. Don't forget, you can see all of my writings and rantings on agentpalmer.com, and of course, email can be sent to thepalmerfiles@gmail.com. So without further ado, let's get into it. Tony, welcome back. I believe the last time you were on, you were in the process of writing, and that's done now, at least, or completed. Or the drafting, I guess.
Okay, so I mean, I'm always writing something.
Okay.
What I was writing the last time we spoke might actually be something that I'm still working on, believe it or not.
Okay.
That one is very close to being done at this point. It's like 90,000 words in, and I literally need to like just put a cap on this thing, get it to maybe 105,000 words, and that'll enter all of the fun editing and rereading and beta reads and all that kind of stuff. The other one is maybe the one you're thinking of. I don't know.
I don't remember because I never put you on the spot for like specifics because you were in the process of writing it, and I didn't want to do that because I know that describing things that aren't finished yet might be the worst thing to attempt to do.
Yeah, I still go by that. I think it was in Stephen King's On Writing. It might have been another writing book where they were like, one of the worst things you could do is, and I'm very much paraphrasing here, but one of the worst things you could do is try to explain to someone what you're working on because they won't get what you're trying to say and they won't act the way you expect them to act, which will sap away all the enthusiasm you have for the thing that you were just about to work on.
Yep.
So I generally, I tend not to talk about like anything that's unfinished.
So we've established in the previous two episodes that you are not only a teacher, and you have whatever work comes, class work comes from that, but you also are a writer, and then you also write scripts for RetroDaze.
Yes. Yeah.
If we ignore the teaching in RetroDaze, because when I asked you that question, you answered that there were two, like how many of your own, like things do you have? How many of those, like how many balls are you juggling as far as like original creations that you're working on at once?
If I am counting like the novels and RetroDaze and
No, ignore RetroDaze and ignore classwork. Just the novels and short stories.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, recently it would have been the upcoming novel, the one that's coming out this year, The Precipice of Nowhere. That one I was over the course of really it was only a couple of weeks because it was a very fast turnaround, but
Okay.
I was working on that. The editing for the publisher. So I was working on that while outlining a new idea that I had that is like in its infancy, even though I haven't finished the other thing. And I think it was around the same time that I was also, so this isn't writing specifically, but I was also working on a new sculpture when I was getting ready for AuthorCon this year.
Okay.
Which I count as creative output, but clearly not writing.
It's still the same. It's not the same muscle necessarily, but it's the same brain power. If you're not inspired, you won't be doing any of those things.
True. Yeah.
So that's 3. 4.
Yeah. That sounds about right. Right now, to be fair, I'm not working on any of my personal stuff because there's a slowdown as the editors over at the publisher are doing the proofreads for the new novel.
Yep.
So that's out of my hands at the moment. I am not actively working on the novel that's at like 90,000 words.
Are you trying to take a break? Like, is that like, are you trying to rest like the wordy part of your brain? Or is it just happenstance that just works out that you're not doing anything right now?
I just got off of a sort of a high intensity couple of months coming out of winter. Coming out of winter break, going back to classes. I was dealing with a lot of work stuff at the school while simultaneously doing the editing and the sculpture and prepping for AuthorCon, which is that big convention I do. It was a little earlier this year, so that was like the end of February that I was prepping for, and then it went into early March. There was just so much going on in at that point that once that was all done, I definitely did one of those like, I need to take a breath. I'm going to focus on like just a couple things now.
Okay.
I think there was at that point, I was also trying to build up the backlog of RetroDaze scripts as well. So I was doing more than one a week of those just to get them like, we like to have a buffer.
Yeah.
So
it's the safest way to go if you're going to do regular content. Yeah. You need a buffer almost because I'm not saying you're going to burn yourself out, but like you can do a lot more cool stuff or take a break if you have a buffer.
Mm-hmm.
Things that would take more research are hard to do when you've got 5 days. It's like, all right.
Yeah, I will cop to like when I get in that, like I almost burnt out. I did almost burn out during those couple months there. And I have a little trick for the RetroDaze scripts. If that sort of thing is happening, is I do low intensity research scripts, ones that I'm a bit more familiar, like topics I'm more familiar with, that I could kind of riff on, that I could be just more creative. It's less research because there is definitely,
I gotta say, I these have to be fairly low intensity for kind of, I asterisk that, but like I have really enjoyed the like user generated episodes of like, you told us your favorite X or Y. And that's just been because, and I the peek behind the curtain, having like knowing you, is that I know you write the scripts, but like, I know you write the scripts, but you're getting this stuff. It's not coming from you. It's coming from like everyone else. And so like occasionally, and I've done this to you, like I've texted you like, hey, here's a thing. Like when you did the ooze thing, I still have my Ninja Turtle ooze that I sent you a picture of. But like,
yes,
when you do the user generated ones, I'm always like, all right, so like, this isn't me knowing Tony. This isn't me knowing the RetroDaze crew. This is how well do I mesh with your audience? Like, what am I not, like, what's coming from, because you and I both know that if we sat down for 5 hours and just talked about things we are aware of, there would be an overlap. But I think we'd be very surprised by the things that didn't. And that's why I love those user-generated ones, because I'm like, where did that come from? I've never heard of that before.
And that's partly why I do it. Part of it is fan service. I mean, I like for the people who watch all the time, I like them to know that like at any point we could pull one of their comments out of there and read it on the air and have them in part of, I think that's an important aspect of the interconnectivity of something like this, where we're all part of this little community of people who all kind of like the same sort of stuff. And then there is that element of like, one of the reasons we do it is they will legitimately come up with comments for things that I've never heard of, didn't come up in my research. And then if there's enough of it, I'm like, there's another episode right there. We can grab all those comments, do another one of the forgotten toys or whatever it is, and just use those comments. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And it makes me really happy too when it's like you never know. It could be a comment from someone that was like a one-off. They're never coming back. But it always makes me super happy when you go to the comments of that video to see them like, oh, you used my comment from the last one. Thank you so much.
So
that's cool.
Let me go back. You're in this kind of break now, or slowing down. We'll call it a slowing down. How good are you at slowing down? I mean, you made a decision, you're gonna cool it for a little bit, but how many days in was it before you went, oh, I have this idea for this other thing? How long did it take? And have you resisted the urge, or have you just bought in and I'm going to write this other thing?
Weirdly, I'm pretty good at completely ignoring my fiction writing.
Okay.
I'm not happy about it, believe me. But it's just one of those things, when I have enough other stuff to focus on. And so when we say that I'm slowing down, what that looks like is I'm prepping my summer classes, grading all of the final essays that are coming in over the next couple of weeks, working on meetings for school, doing the backup videos for RetroDaze. You know what I mean?
You're not doing nothing. It's not a vacation, but you are. It is still a few things less in your brain.
Yeah, and that all that stuff does have a way of dampening my enthusiasm, or maybe even blocking some of the creative juices that maybe want to come to the surface. I get bogged down with this other stuff, and it can be a little stressful, and I get tired, not physically, but just a mental exhaustion that will permeate. And I'm looking forward to during the summer, I usually is when I get a lot of. That's when I really buckle down. I'm going to work on this novel now. Okay. During the semesters, I can get that kind of work done, and I often do, but it's not consecutive. I tend to, if I miss a few days, it may fall off completely.
Okay.
So the summer I have it's a lot easier for me to stay on task and do what I got to do. So I've been saying, for basically the past few months, once summer comes, I'm going to finish this next novel. I like that something new is coming out this year, because at least there's that it feels like there's momentum because of that.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to use the momentum of the one that is coming out to push me to finish this next one, so I could get that into the agent pool and start talking about querying and looking where that's going to be, so that hopefully I can get a bit more momentum in that part of my career. Because the last thing that came out was Tommy and or the Cosmic Champions, which now has been at least a few years. I don't remember exactly what year it came out.
So I guess because I'm not an author, and as a blogger, and you've heard me say this, I get to celebrate a publish every week. And with the podcast, I get to do it every 2 weeks, and so I don't wait 5 years for a project to finish. You're in this, what I would call dry spell. You've done a lot of work, but you haven't seen the results of it yet. When you're in it, is it just, all right, this is just par for the course, this is just how it works? Or are you, do you want to rush to get to the next thing to come out? I know you want to use the momentum of that, but that's not happened yet. So and it hasn't happened for years, and you've been working on stuff. I know RetroDaze publishes and you get that little hit, but for the big stuff, are you, is it Oh, come on. Like, are you fiending? Are you like truly ready? Or is it like, no, I understand the process. That's just how it works.
I mean, it's a little bit of both, I guess. Like, I do understand the process. I do realize that this happens sometimes, but then there's always going to be that part of this industry and just being a new writer, like not I'm a new writer, but a young writer career wise, where you see people publishing and you get a little worried sometimes. It's like people are coming out with a lot of stuff and you want to get your stuff out too. And there's that sense of, what's the word I'm looking for?
I mean, do you feel like you're on the outside looking in?
Well, a little bit, maybe.
Or
sometimes.
Is it just like, all right, they're ahead of me in line, and when's my turn?
Not so much that like, oh, when's my turn necessarily. I mean, to be fair, I've published a number of things, so I don't necessarily feel that way, but I do feel sometimes like I just can't wait. I guess it's like,
okay,
it's like waiting for Christmas morning, but like they decided to push it back
because they can. I mean, they can be like, well, we're not going to release you until X month, and you're like, oh.
Yeah, it's just it is. I think that's why I liked sculpting so much, or why I started doing that more at one point, is because there is a more immediate hit, like you got what you were talking about with like RetroDaze, where you sculpt something, maybe that only takes a couple weeks instead of a couple months or a year or a couple of years, and you get an immediate, like people can just look at it and react. They don't have to read 100,000 words, and there is that part of that I like. The interaction. I crave a bit of discussion about stuff. It doesn't have to be my work even. I mean, that's why I like to teach too, is like I just like talking about this stuff. So yeah, there is a little bit of that, like I'm impatient, I guess. An impatience where I just can't wait for that next thing to happen. And I think I'm at a point where I don't really worry about like that it's not going to happen. At this point, I'm pretty confident in like my ability to write something that will eventually make its way to the public eye. But yeah, just sometimes it takes a long, between how long it might take me to create it versus how long you have to be in querying and submitting, and then how long it'll be with the publisher.
Yep.
One thing, so the new one that's coming out is coming out with Crystal Lake publisher, and their imprint is called Torrid Waters. That's where I was accepted. And to be fair, they are working very fast.
Okay.
Like in terms of they accepted me, I think it was around, I announced it on Halloween.
Okay.
Which made me so happy.
Yeah.
I was like, oh God, I get to tell people that a new book's coming on Halloween. Nice. So that was cool. But I mean, since then we've already edited. It's already in the proofreading. It's coming out this year. It's like it's very likely to get accepted at a publishing house and not see it come out for 2-3 years.
So let's talk about the other thing I know I loosely remember from our last conversation, which is that you wanted to speak more in some capacity, specifically, maybe I think if I remember correctly at like author cons, or do more readings and stuff. Right. Have you, I guess is the question.
I have. Yeah. In general, I've been getting out more than I ever did before, which isn't saying much because I didn't do it at all.
Well, but getting out at all is a step in the right direction. I know at the time I brought up like your teaching, but obviously it's not exactly the same. So having gotten out more, is it more comfortable? Are you enjoying it more?
Yeah, there's a bit of that like immersion therapy aspect to like just the more you do something, the more comfortable you get with it. And I kind of knew that would be the case because that's exactly what happened with teaching, where I started out a little nervous and then like within the first day of doing it, it melted away and I was like, yeah, I'm supposed to do this. So yeah, I've done, I mean, I don't remember how many readings I did when I spoke to you, but I've done a few since.
Okay.
This year at AuthorCon, I did a reading. It was the prologue actually of the novel that's coming out because I was trying to like promote it a little bit. And I was on a panel this year there too, which was fun. It was a panel about teaching writing. So I was like right in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
And then I did like last year I didn't do anything because that was before I was accepted for the new novel and I had nothing coming. And that was one of those years where I was like, I've been to AuthorCon with the same books twice now. I don't want to keep doing this with the same books. I felt like a little bit, like I wanted to take the break and work on stuff, which is what I did. Instead of going to conventions, I just buckled down and worked on some of my own writing. And then this year, knowing that something was coming out again, I was like, yep, let's get back to it. And hopefully I'll be able to do a couple more this year. The ones that I applied for, unfortunately, were very highly, there were, I think, 150 applicants to the one.
Okay.
And it was kind of a bummer because it's literally down the road for me. It would have been like a 10-minute drive for that one.
Nice.
And I was like,
are you still going to go? Are you still going to like be an attend? I mean, do you get a chance? I mean, we talk about you going to conventions to speak and to, have a booth and to, show your wares, sell your wares. Do you get a chance to go be an attendee?
Do you mean like while you're working it, or
just in general? Just hey, I'm going to this particular convention to be an attendee only, or do you get those opportunities?
Yeah, you could make that that's really just up to you. Like if you want to go, I do, but the ones I go to tend not to be specifically like book conventions, writer conventions. So I go to horror conventions on occasion. Schiller Theater in Jersey is the one that I've been to the most probably. And then I went a couple years ago and I am going again this year over to RetroCon in Oaks, Pennsylvania.
Okay.
I'm not, not to work that one, but it is kind of like part of the RetroDaze thing so that we go check out, maybe get some ideas for some scripts and whatnot.
Yeah.
So those I go to just for the fun of it. But yeah, this one that's like right near here, I probably will just go check it out, see how it is. Cause it's, like I said, it's like 10 minutes away. Certainly worth the 10-minute drive to go check out. There was another one I did called Horror on Main. That was a couple years ago. I did that one too, but I did a reading there. It was a bit more low key as compared to AuthorCon. AuthorCon's like the big, like overwhelming one. And then the others I've been to, I mean, Horror on Main was pretty big. It was also a little bit more equally focused on not just writers, but there were horror icons there, like horror actors. And
so horror as a medium, not necessarily just the written word or okay. And so
it was a bit more split.
And amid all of this, the one thing we haven't talked about is that you, especially during the summer when you have more time, not only do you hit up yard sales and flea markets, but you make videos about it, which, I mean, that you didn't add that was not part of the list of what we talked about a while ago of things you do, but you do very, very much on the summer. I think in this, and I give you a pass because of the school year and when things happen and the seasonality of everything, but like you hit up the flea market and I think it was, almost at least every other week for a while in the last few summers where you've sat down and talked about on YouTube what you've done. And, not for nothing, that's another thing you do. Like
it is, but it's also, at least now when I do that, and it really is not as frequently as I used to. And like you said, like during the summer when I'm doing the flea market and yard sale, it'll be more often likely, but I have to admit that I am the laziest YouTuber that has ever existed at this point. There was a point years ago when I would like edit the videos and add graphics and do like have an introduction part to the video, like a bumper or whatever.
Yeah.
And sometimes even like write little scripts for them and stuff and do like, I was trying to make the channel good. When I do it now, it's almost just for me. It's like I had fun at the flea market. I'm gonna show off what I found. There's a handful of people that'll watch, and it's not monetized or anything. And I put no real like I mean, whatever the effort is in like hitting record and talking for 10 minutes.
Look,
and then
I'll be
post.
honest. There's a lot. That's 90% of the effort. Like, let's be honest. That's not, because it's so much easier to not record. You know, I mean, it just, and that's from somebody who, like, I have a podcast, and I feel like there are conversations I have where I could be like, hold on, let's turn the mics on. But it's very easy to just be like, nah, let's just keep, let's just not.
Yeah.
The record, it's the same as thinking about an idea, though. Like, it's the same as your books. Like, you have an idea, and that's not always a given. But once you have the idea, like, starting it, you don't have to finish. I'm not going to say you have to finish, but starting it, oh my God, that's everything. Just like hitting record. That's not, that's not nothing is all I'm saying.
When you put it that way, there's certainly that's actually one thing I need to get better at. Is I used to be great at this. One of my first writing teachers in college, like it was my last year of college, and they're the first thing they told us. Well, no, I'm lying. The first thing they told us is not to be a writer. Like, you don't want to do this. Don't be writers. But the second thing that he told us was to always carry around a small notebook with you and write down everything. Anything that you think is important, anything that you think's not important, just jot stuff down, have a little book with you. And I took that advice to heart for a long time, but it's fallen off a little bit. That's something that I like. Again, it's like coming up with the idea, but then taking the initiative to actually write it down somewhere so you remember it for later so you could use it. Otherwise, it's gone. It's, in the ether at that point.
Yeah.
And yeah, I've definitely gotten bad at that the past, I don't know, years.
But okay, but you've gotten bad at that at the same time that you've been finishing other major works. Like, I can understand that if I was, and I'm guilty of this, there are plenty of ideas I don't write down, and then, 6 hours later, I'm like, what was that idea? But I'm also, as we're recording, last night, 2 nights, within the last 72 hours, I went through and found not even all, but a lot of unfinished blog posts and, half-cocked ideas for posts. Yeah. And I compiled the list because, even some of it's written down, some of it's in a Google Doc, some of it's in a to-do list, some of it's in an email to myself. And they get lost. You just lose track of it. Like, you have it, great, but you lose track of it. And then you put it all together and you go, oh, like, I'm not at a loss for what's next, but I haven't done any of these things. And so it's just, now I have this new to-do list, which hopefully I won't lose, or at least I'll do a few of them before I lose it again. And it's
so
just
you were compiling them to actually finish, though, you're saying?
Well, at least see what I've got. I mean, it's much easier to go through the old documents of half-finished ideas and go like, is there anything here? And maybe finish one or two than it is to sit down at a blank screen and go, all right, what are my next posts?
Yeah.
And so it's in those, I mean, I found, so the one I'll give you, maybe it'll be out before this releases. Maybe it won't be out. Maybe I'll forget about it again. But I had a title titled 74 Minutes. Okay?
Yeah.
And I went, what does that mean? Like, I don't know what that, so I Googled it because I was like, is it a movie? Like, what is this? No, apparently the head of Sony wanted CDs to be 74 minutes long so they could include Beethoven's Ninth Symphony uninterrupted on one disc while they were developing the technology. I don't know what I'm going to do with that yet, but clearly I thought I could write about it beyond just that little factoid.
Yeah, it is. It's an interesting little fact that probably could dig into in some respect. Are they 74 minutes long?
No, they're longer now, but I think this was when they were being developed in the 70s. I think that was the minimum length he wanted.
All right.
And so, all right, big fan of the Ninth Symphony apparently, and that was I think it's ninth. I could be, one of the symphonies.
It's a symphony.
And it took a while. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I don't know when I wrote it down either. Like, it's just, that's what it was. And I remembered that that's why I wrote it down, at least. But again, that's saved somewhere. And I rediscovered this along with a bunch of other things I've not written yet. So it is good, but it's also like, I'm finally at a point where I'm not afraid to say this. If I never get to it, that's okay. Like, I don't feel like every idea I have is worth pursuing, but I also know that, man, if I only wrote down 74 minutes, I probably had a longer post in mind back whenever I wrote down 74 minutes. I can't go back in time. I can't get in my brain. In fact, I had to, I bring it up because I had to Google what it meant.
Yeah.
You know, like, so if there was a whole post associated with it, that's also gone.
Yeah. I mean, at least you were able to figure it out, though. Like, so that had a connection to something that in the real world that you were able to track down. When this happens to me, it's usually more often scribbled in a notebook, one of my many because I do it, like, I know I said I don't really do it enough anymore, but I still do it, and I have notebooks everywhere. And I will scribble down these half-formed ideas that I'll rediscover, and like maybe I'll decide I'm going to flip through this book and see if I had anything good in there. And I don't know what the fuck I was thinking.
That's true. When it's completely original, you can't Google it.
Yeah, it's like, what was going through my mind on that occasion? It could have been like a dream I had. It could have been just something I saw as I was walking to the store. Who knows? And like, something about it clicked in my mind enough that I thought there was like a story there, or at least the beginnings of a story or scenario that I could explore. And yeah, sometimes you find those scribbled notes and you're just like, I don't know what this is. And it's gone, even though you did write it down.
Yeah. Yeah. And I don't want to say it's an always kind of strike while the iron's hot kind of a thing, because sometimes we write these things down fully formed, but we don't write the fully formed thing down because we're like, I'll never forget. I'll absolutely know what this means.
Yeah.
Next week, not realizing that next week is not next week. It's 2 years from now, and I have no idea what this means.
You know, weirdly, this conversation is making me realize that I, sometime in the past year, had an idea for a novella that I was so excited about that I went to Google Docs. I believe it was Google Docs. Now I have to go look for this now. I don't know where it is, but somewhere there exists a document where I like outlined the major beats of the novella, the premise, maybe even the first paragraph or two, just like have something down. Cause I even remember thinking, I won't know what this is unless I like put some work into it so that when I find it again, I can continue.
Yes.
And I completely forgot about it until this conversation. I believe it's in Google Docs somewhere. I'm not going to go searching now because I don't want to like interrupt the flow of our conversation, but it's somewhere.
Well, that leads me to the other thing, which is you sometimes rifle through a notebook, and I have more than one Google account, and I have more than one place where I put things. And so it's, when I talk about going through all that stuff, I'm sure I haven't gone through everything. I just went through the 3 obvious places where I usually put ideas, but that's not always where the ideas end up.
No, for sure. When you started talking about this, I quickly went to my writing folder to look, and I in fact do have a folder that is entitled Failed Attempts, and it's filled with stories that I started to write.
Now, do you go through the ones that I discover, for the most part, they're just unfinished. And obviously blog posts are not nearly as complex as, say, like a full story or even a short story. But, I can always put it aside. Do you go back through that fail folder and just, I'm not saying resurrect ideas, but do you go back through it? Maybe not on a regular basis, but at all?
Yeah, I do sometimes. I called the folder failed attempts, but they aren't really failed attempts so much as more often than not, a story I started to write and then got busy with something else and never finished.
Okay.
In some more rare occasions, it might be something where I like hit a solid brick wall and didn't know where to go with.
Okay.
But more often, yeah, it's more often just something like I started writing, lost steam, or got busy with something else. And there are more of those that aren't in the failed attempts folder because I'm certainly not very good at like putting them in the folder.
It would be, yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, I will say for the both of us, it would be great if there was one folder, one document, just one list somewhere.
Yeah.
But we both know that there are many folders and many documents and many lists of all of these things. And some of them are mixed in with other things. There's I've got notes where it's like, this was a shopping list. And on the back of the shopping list is don't forget to invite so-and-so on the podcast, or don't forget to write this blog post. And like, again, you find it and you go, wait, who's Tim? Like, I have no, like, it's like, I knew at the time, sure, but I don't know now. Or, again, 74 minutes. What does this mean? Like, it's crazy, but I do feel like I need to, and look, I don't know why I decided in the last few days to go through and find that stuff. I just thought, hey, maybe I could clean some of this stuff. I think it was a digital cleaning. I was like, oh, maybe I can clean some of this stuff up. If I write about it, it won't be in here and I can move on. I need to get better at maybe going through that stuff on a more regular basis. I don't know if you want to call it a digital spring cleaning, but I don't know that annually is enough, because then we get into situation. If you do it annually, you get into situations where it's been a year and I don't know what this means anymore. Yeah. I don't want to do it every month, but like, I do need to find a better rhythm for revisiting these, this field of ideas that I either do or don't, let grow.
Yeah. I can see that. For me, it tends to be like when I have the time to, if I want to start writing a new story and I have the time for that, I'll sometimes use that as the impetus for like looking through that folder, looking through stuff that I've started and seeing, is there anything here that I want to continue?
Yeah.
In some cases, it's led to, and I can't remember the specific story this was, to be honest, but there, at least one instance, it led to me taking two separate stories and splicing them together because I realized that they had a lot in common and I was able to like connect these ideas and it became this whole other thing. So I do like hanging on to these things because even if they were actual failed attempts, you never know, if you might even just a paragraph from it, you might decide is like some great description that I want to use somewhere else. So yeah, I mean, I absolutely will do that on occasion. But I usually, like I said, it's only like if the opportunity arises. More and more, I've become less interested in writing short stories and more interested in just working on longer stuff.
Okay.
I think at some point, they are separate skills to a certain extent. At a certain point, I had been working on so many longer things. I went back to write a short story and it turned into not a short story. And that's actually the novel I'm working on right now. That is at 90,000 words I mentioned.
Yeah.
That was going to be a short story, believe it or not.
So for those listening and for me, you're at 90,000 words. You want to get to 105 is what
90,000.
90,000. You want to get to 105, you said?
Ish.
What would the target have been had it been a short story? Like if it had remained a short story, what are we talking about? Just so we can have a difference.
It started out where I was shooting for about 5,000 words.
Okay, so yeah, okay, that's okay, and a novella is what, probably 30?
I forget the exact cutoffs, but I believe it's like, the real low numbers they call like flash fiction, microfiction, yada yada, and then you go usually from like 1,000 to maybe I want to say like 8,000, 10,000. I think is the upper limit for a short story. And then between 10,000 and 35 is novella.
Okay.
And then, above that, 45 is probably a bit too short for a novel, but usually like around 60,000, I believe.
Okay.
Is like maybe 50,000, 45. Because then they'll just call it a short novel.
Yeah.
It's a little,
It's
there's
look,
wiggle room.
I just bring up word counts so people understand what we're talking about. But when you talk about like the specific definitions, it's very inside baseball. And some people, sometimes it varies by publisher, I know as well. So it's just like, all right, well, we'll see. Do you have any interest in, I mean, obviously you're doing longer and longer stuff. Do you want to like stretch the muscle and go like, all right, let's try and write a short story again? Like, do you want to attempt it?
I did recently. I mean, I say I'm like getting less interested in short stories. Part of that is how hard it is to place them. It's almost easier to place a novel these days or a novella. There are fewer and fewer outlets for short stories. There are like random anthologies. A lot of the anthologies, though, are invite only, or they might only open up to like literally like 1 to 3 or 4 spots for unsolicited submissions.
Okay.
And that, it's,
Would
and
you,
there are a lot of people vying for those spots.
would you have an easier time if you came with your own short story anthology where it was like, these are, this is like, I don't know what it is. Like, this is 8 of my own short stories and you filled
just
it?
a collection?
Yeah. You filled your own collection. Would that be, I'm not saying you would, but I'm just in spitball. Like, would that be easier than say like trying to get in an anthology of many?
Of everything that you can sell, selling a short story collection is probably one of the harder ones to sell to a publisher.
Okay.
And there are this is very inside baseball too, but there are like percentages of like, if you're going to release a collection, you want to be fairly well established to create enough interest that people are, that the publisher believes people will want to read your short stories in a collection. And then there's a percentage of those short stories that should have been previously published versus new.
Okay. This has been in 4 magazine, or I've got 4 that have been in magazines that did well. And then I've got 4 brand new ones. And here's my collection of 8.
Yeah, something like that. You probably want, like, it doesn't hurt to have like a solid theme to it and things like that, which is all to say, I mean, I have a short story collection out from years ago called Greetings from Moon Hill. That's that one.
Okay.
That was a real fun project, but it was have I talked to you about that before?
I don't think so. No, I don't think we have.
Okay. Yeah. So that was after I released my first novel, Soundtrack to the End of the World. That one was published by a small, like an indie publisher, Bad Moon Books. And then on the heels of that, my friend Todd Kiesling, who's also a writer, and he is an excellent writer. I've talked about him before on the show, I think. He was kind of starting his own publishing house and was interested in working with me. So we ended up doing like a Kickstarter situation for the collection. And it was this very, just a real big project where we took a lot of my previous stories that have been published. We added a bunch of stuff that was not yet published. I wrote brand new material for it. And we did like a wraparound story.
Okay.
As well as interstitials that were kind of related to the other stories. Everything was connected with the town Moon Hill. So while the stories themselves weren't necessarily connected by plot, there were recurring characters and there was this sense of place because everything was either in or around that small town. And it also included a novella that I had written and had published previously only in audio form. So it would have been the first time that it was actually in print, but had been published by an audiobook publisher. And then for the Kickstarter, I did a bunch of exclusive sculptures that were related to things from the book.
Okay. So how does a connected series of short stories, even the ones that were previously written and then trying to, connect them, compare to, say, just a novel, just a singular entity like that you don't have to connect? Like harder, more challenging, more fun, like same but different, because listening to you talk, like it sounds like the collection of short stories was more complicated and harder than just sitting down and writing. not to make light of it, but 105,000 words.
Right. There was definitely something, there was a difficulty level to that. And then also just like determining what belonged in the collection, what didn't belong in the collection. Cause it wasn't the hardest thing in the world to take like a weird story and say, you know, that maybe didn't have a very firm setting and just be like, well, we'll say it's in Moon Hill.
Yeah.
And we didn't want to just go around doing that because a lot of my stories started out as Moon Hill stories. And then there was maybe one or two that fit well enough that we were like, yeah, we can do that. We can kind of call it Moon Hill. And then there were, like I said, the newer things that I had written specifically for that setting. Yeah, it was hard. It was making sure that the characters were playing the right way, that they were like connecting the right way, making sure that we were the continuity issues that might arise from that, the timing of everything. Yeah, there was a lot in there. And then we've had readers that didn't realize it was supposed to be a collection of stories and reviewed it poorly because they thought that it was a novel and couldn't understand why some characters like disappeared and never came back. And like, yeah, there's I thought it was pretty clear, but I don't know.
So you are going to have a book coming out. You will be back to promotion. Are you gearing up for that? There will hopefully be a book tour for you, whether it's just, you know, more podcasts, more speaking engagements, whatever, more social engagements, more YouTube stuff. Who knows? But I mean, obviously you already know all the things that come along with being an author, a published author, and then going out and promoting. Are you ready for the whirlwind when it's time?
I've been gearing up mentally.
Okay.
I haven't done any real legwork for this yet because partly because as of this recording, as you know, we don't know what the date is that the novel is coming out. So part of it is like, if it's coming out late in the year, I'm mostly going to want to be scheduling stuff in probably like next year. But yeah, you know, I historically have not been good at this. Historically, I've done a few podcasts. I would maybe do a convention or two, maybe not do any conventions. I really do want this one to be, I want to support this one more wholeheartedly than I have in the past. And so, yeah, that's where I flounder a bit though. So I don't have someone in my corner necessarily that like is good with marketing or like a publicist or an agent who's going to tell me like, okay, these are the places you want to contact. This is how we're going to do that. So I'm a little bit out to sea when it comes to that stuff, but it is something I want to do.
Okay.
I'm definitely going to do AuthorCon again next year. Like that's a given. If there's a couple other conventions that I can get seats into, I'll be doing those. Anything that I don't want to have to drive too far. Like that one's in Virginia. So that's probably the furthest I'd want to go. But,
I mean, the good news is there are podcasts, right? Like you have the ability, I mean, maybe more now than maybe 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Like your book tour doesn't have to leave your house, really. I mean, you have to do a lot more legwork in finding places to guest, people that, whether you talk about like, if we have a date for the book, when this comes out, I will promote it, or I will have promoted it in the intro, and you're about to hear me promote it again in the outro. And that's just, I would do that anyway, but we didn't really talk about it during the conversation. And you got to find podcasts that's the hard part. I mean, even as a podcaster, like finding places to guest on to promote this is like, yeah, we can start a support group of like, how do I do this? Cause I feel like we're all not doing enough. And yet I don't know. This part's fun, but everything leading up to this is just, can somebody else? It's not easy.
I've never been a fan. I'm getting, so, I mean, that's what I've been working on though. That's what, and you kind of asked me that a version of that question earlier with the readings, and that this is part of that, it's that like, do it more, do it as much as you can, get comfortable with it. I've been just in my life in general, trying to be a bit more out there, a bit more just social.
Okay.
And it has, to a certain extent, things get easier to do. And I'm hoping that like by the time the book is coming out, I'd love to do like a real like actual book release party, it's find a place, throw a little bash, get people to come out, do a reading or something, get a few. I don't want to do like a solo book tour because that those things can go south real easy, but like with other people in groups,
Yep.
if there are, again, depending on when it comes out, maybe some Halloween little mini book signings at like a Barnes and Noble kind of thing.
Well, I'll say this. I'll try and make it if it's within our area, and I will also say I will hold us to this. I have no problem trying to hold us to this. We haven't met yet.
Yeah.
So if it takes another 2 years, if your guest cycle on the Palmer Files is every 2 years, sometime in the next 24 months, we have to get together at some point. I will, this will be I'll put it on one of my many to-do lists and hope to not lose it.
Yeah. I think I want to say the premise of our last conversation was even like kind of based around that notion.
Yeah,
of
it
getting
was.
together.
And it didn't happen. And so this time around, boy, oh boy, anybody listening, well, we're on the clock now.
But I mean, it makes sense though. Like I know how I am with stuff like that. I'm quick to say, yeah, of course, but I'm also not necessarily the type to like make it happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the follow through is always pretty hard, and that's not just you. I think that's just everybody everybody's willing to say yes without thinking about like the logistics of where and when and what. So I will take those upon myself, and we'll find something that works.
Yeah, absolutely.
And hopefully, the next time you're on, we'll be able to report to the listeners that we've met.
Very cool. Yeah, it's one of those things. It's like life gets in the way sometimes, and I've been trying to make an effort to and just do more, because I'm one of those people who can absolutely like kind of like fall into a trap of like, okay, I have so much work to do. I have to finish writing this thing. I have to do that. And then not take enough time to get out there and do other things. That's what we were talking prior to recording, and we were briefly talking about tabletop RPGs, and I mentioned that the one shot thing, and that actually grew into I was invited to like join are you familiar with GURPS?
No.
GURPS is generic universal role playing system.
Okay.
So
yeah, it's the generic D&D / Pathfinder stuff.
yeah, it's its own system, and the GM who runs the one shots that I was going to had his own story. Basically, it's just his own creation that he runs with this GURP system, and so I've been doing that too, and it's been it's a really fun way to like I told you this is me coming to RPG for the first time. For anyone who hasn't done that before, I'm finding it to be like a really great way to just stretch your mind.
Yeah.
And like, I didn't realize how much of it was just improv narration kind of stuff. It's an improv narrative where you're thrown into these situations, and sure, there's like the gaming elements of it, but there's also this, very social storytelling element where you're kind of sharing a story, creating a story together. And as storytellers, as writers, that is an exciting thing to do in a different way.
Yeah. And I'll say this, having where we started with all the things that you do, and I'm guilty of this too, it's very easy to use the weight of all of the things we do. And I'm not complaining. I think you and I like what we do. The writing, the creativity, the sculpture, the podcast, all of it. But that weight is the easiest thing to use as a shield for social things.
Oh, absolutely.
Hey, I don't need to do this. I've got a podcast tonight. Hey, I don't need to do this. I've got to write. Yeah. I'm not saying that won't happen in the future, but I'm just saying that we will strive to do better. And the next time you're on, if we remember, hopefully we can see how we both do.
Absolutely.
Tony and I are but two of the many examples you've heard on this show of creative workaholics. We're always working on more than one thing. There is always something after anything gets done. And so we just keep on keeping on. As you heard, it can make socializing a bit challenging because, like most creatives, we do like what we do. It's not that we don't like people, but we like our projects equally. And of course, it's also why we could all do better to promote ourselves, because we like working on what we do more. So we'll rely on each other to get better. No, Tony and I haven't met in real life yet, despite our less than 1 hour proximity to each other. But as a holdover from his second appearance, autumn is just around the corner, and I believe chili will be on the menu as the temperature drops. And I did promise Tony some chili. So I'll work on keeping up my end, and Tony and I will both keep on doing what we do, perhaps with a bit more socializing in the future. Thanks for listening to The Palmer Files, episode 180, and now for the official business. The Palmer Files releases every 2 weeks on Tuesdays. If you're still listening, I encourage you to join the discussion. You can find all related ways to contact Tony or myself in the show notes. Tony's next published work, Precipice of Nowhere, will be released at the end of October. Be sure to pre-order wherever you get your books. Be on the lookout for what else Tony has coming up, either with published works or events, by getting information and social links from Tony's website, anthonyjrapino.com. That's ANTHONYJRAPINO.com. Plus, you can watch Tony's RetroDaze scripts come to life on youtube.com/RetroDaze. That's RetroDaze. The music for this episode was provided by Henno Heitur. Email and comments can be sent to this show at thepalmerfiles@gmail.com. And remember, your home for all things Agent Palmer is agentpalmer.com. All right, Tony, do you have one final question for me?
I do. So as I listen to your podcast, I remember you talking a lot about how you can't wait for your child to be able to talk, and so that you can get to know them and understand who they are. So I'm curious, like, what are the top few things that you're excited to share with them about you, about the things that you're interested in, things that you hope that maybe they'll also like be into and dig?
So hilariously, I feel like, during Steph's maternity leave, newborns eat and sleep. Okay. Like that's what they do. And we had obviously a lot of time to just, well, you're also very tired, but we had a lot of time to have screen time and watch comfort movies that we don't mind missing stuff, right? Like you dig into, all right, like we love Fifth Element in this house and we love Twister in this house, and we quote these things over and over. And there are other movies, but those are the two that spring to mind because those are the two we quote the most. And Jurassic, the whole Jurassic franchise. And as we were watching these, especially when like friends would come over and we'd leave the TV on or whatever. And Zapata was a big part of this because I think he was here one time when we really got into this. This doesn't quite answer your question, but it gets to part of it. And we started listing all of our, as a discussion point.
Right.
Like, hey, Tony, how old for Twister, for Jurassic Park? How old when we get to first introduce, Star Wars as, and obviously I'm a big fan of, let's not spoil the reveal. Let's watch in release order.
Yeah.
But like But what's the age, right? Like, because I remember, like, I mean, and some of it is completely up to us, right? Like, I was 10 when Jurassic Park came out. I could not have watched it any earlier. But is Jurassic Park age appropriate for 8? If the kid is a little bit older than maybe, you know, the age appears, like, is 7, is 6, like, and so we started going through all of the classic, not just our favorite movies like Fifth Element and Twister, but like classic movies, like so how early for Star Wars, or like how early for like Back to the Future, and there is obviously kids grow up at different rates, so language skills will play a huge role in a lot of this stuff. But it started to be like, all right, we started making this list. And I turned Steph into a sports fan. And, you know, she enjoys baseball and football and basketball. And she puts up with me watching racing. I don't know that she'll ever, like, actually watch racing. She prefers like a few specific drivers who are very candid after the race. And she enjoys people being like, yeah, I don't know what happened there. Like, especially when they're honest, and not a lot of them are. A lot of them are very much in the vein of like, well, the team did well, I let it down, whatever. And like, occasionally you get people that, I don't know, they're just personalities and they're going to be honest. But that's the thing. We play Magic the Gathering. We've played RPGs. We play board games and video games. There's sports. There's movies. We're both big readers. Music is big in this house. So the answer, I guess, is whatever I can pass on, I'm more than willing to pass on. I just know that this house as a whole, between Steph and myself, is so well-rounded.
Yeah.
I don't know there is anything my kid can enjoy or love that one of us is not also passionate about. Like, we are very, I don't want to say Renaissance people because I feel like that term gets thrown around too much.
Right.
But we are very well-rounded when it comes to the things we watch, the things we consume, the things we enjoy. And I feel like as long as we can share any of that, I'm fine. Like, I don't need the kid to enjoy Magic the Gathering or all of Star Trek or all of Star Wars or comic books or baseball. I don't. But if the kid loves music, hey, you know what? That's fun. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
it's any of those things, but we don't know. The other part, and this is the thing that, like, obviously I'm not going to change who I am, and I'm not going to ask my wife, Steph, to change who she is. But how much of this is nature, in that this kid is growing up in this house where we play Magic the Gathering and I listen to music and we watch baseball, and like these things happen as the kid's growing up. They just happen. So even without talking specifically and being like, this is, you know, this is a comic book. This is a novel. This is a collection of short stories. This is a magic card. This is an RPG manual. Like, without going into specifics, these things are on the shelf. These things are around. These things are on the screen. These things are heard through speakers. So honestly, I'm kind of more excited to find out, like, what is everybody's nature is different within the house they grow up in. And, you know, having a kid really, it engages people into their own childhood.
Right.
In the first 5-6 months of being a parent, I talked to more people about either their being new parents or them being children growing up and being like, well, when my kid was this, young or whatever, this happened. Or when I was, 4, I remember X, Y, Z. Mm-hmm. And I didn't expect that, by the way. I didn't expect, like, I expected people to be like, oh, maybe here's some advice for new parents. Right. But I never expected stories about, like, that were completely unrelated to, like, anything you would need. It's just, hey, okay, you're a parent now. I want to tell you this. And it's not useful. It's just, I want to tell you this story because you might appreciate it now, like kind of a deal. And so, listening to all of that, the amount of nature versus nurture makes me feel like, oh boy, it's all a crapshoot. So I'm just, I mean, to not to cop out, like I would love if the movies, if we can quote movies as the three of us instead of just Steph and I, like it would be great. You know, when it's dinner time, Twister's got that famous food line in it. It would be great to have like a 4-year-old yelling food to one of us. Like that would be hilarious to me in all the right places, right? That would be great. I think it's going to happen? I have no idea, right?
Yeah.
But you know, we'll find out, I guess, in this, you know, and you know, the kid's sleeping right now. The kid's going to grow up in a house where dad goes to the basement or his office, wherever the office is, like if we move, whatever. But I go into my office and I record a podcast. Is the kid going to be interested in podcasting? I don't know. But I got a microphone over there and, you know, they can introduce themselves to the world if they want. I'm not going to say no, but I'm also not going to be like, get on mic. Like it's, you know, it's okay. We'll see where you gravitate, kid. And I think that's kind of where I'm at right now, because I feel like, yes, I want to know all the thoughts in the head. Like I really, you know, I want to know those things, but for what I pass along, you know, I not because you asked the question, but just in general, I think a lot about like where I get my stuff from. And my parents never pushed anything on me. Mm-hmm. And I still have a lot of their stuff. their likes, their dislikes, their ways of being. So I don't know. I guess I'm just going to let nature or nurture or both, I guess, because I have control over one. I have control over both of those things. As I control the nature of the house and I control the nurture of what I do. But I'm not forcing anything. And I think that's the way to go. You don't, what you said earlier really struck me. And I think that is going to be such an amazing thing, is just the nature of your household and all of the stuff that's around, and not just the stuff being around, but the love that you both have for these things. Yeah. That shines through. And even though you're not pushing it, or saying like, you have to like this thing, seeing that love for something. I mean, I feel like that's why I ended up liking reading and writing as much as I do. 'Cause as a kid, I was exposed to the love of it more than I was exposed to it as like homework or a punishment or what have you. So having an environment like that where all of this stuff, all of these different hobbies and loves and ideas. And I'm not going to pull the kid aside and go, you're not going to be a writer. But, you know, I mean, hey, it's at some point you should probably say like, maybe just be honest and be like, there are better ways to make money. It's not that you shouldn't be a writer. It's just, there are easier ways to make money. There are many, many billions of easier ways to make money. Yeah. Don't do it because you think you're going to be rich or famous. There you go.